do want to get to some specific names because, and we mentioned some of these guys off the top, because some of them were just shocking. Right now, the Cam Wards of the portal, I understand the players from Florida that are going in, or maybe the guys from Texas A&M that are going in, coach firings, programs that are massively underperforming. If you look at Florida's schedule for next year, it's not getting better. It really feels like guys like Trevor Etienne are getting out ahead of an impending disaster, right? But for guys like Dylan Gabriel, for a player like Kyle McCord, Jake, let's start with you. What are they doing? Where are we going?
As far as Kyle McCord goes, I don't quite understand it because maybe it was the situation. Maybe he didn't like the coaching staff. And I know that in recent days, no pun intended, Ryan Day has not been the most popular head coach out there.
Sure.
And he's been kind of alienated by the fan base, for a lot of his failures to win the big game against Michigan every year. And so, for with his case specifically, I don't really know what he's looking for, because I think that Kyle McCord could be a good quarterback. I'm not sure about great, but I'm not sure that he'll find himself in a better position than Ohio State. And maybe that was him, maybe it was a case of a coach telling him that he would be better off going to the portal, because Ohio State's already got somebody else in mind that maybe they want to bring in. And one of those really tough conversations was had. But, for a guy like Dylan Gabriel, I kind of understand it a little bit more because his goal is purely to win. And if I'm not mistaken, it seems like, if I'm correct on that, he was really looking at Oregon.
Yeah, it's the rumor
And
anyway.
yeah, that's the rumor. And from his perspective, I think that that's a great move. You're moving into a system with a great coach that, um, you know, an offensive system that really transformed Bo Nix into the quarterback that he is today. And so, there's already that past success that he can look at. And, Jeff Lebby just left for Mississippi State. So I'm sure that probably had a little bit to factor into it. But for a guy like him, I think it definitely does make sense, especially if you just want to win a national championship. And I know he probably looked over his shoulder, saw Jackson Arnold right there, and said, okay, maybe it's time for me to, go test the waters elsewhere. And it's actually good timing for him, especially if this LSU, or not LSU, this Oregon rumor does come out to be true.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I'll say one thing before you go, Trey. For Kyle McCord, really interesting, and it feels like maybe he was pushed out, kind of brought into that side room, had that tough conversation, because it sounds like it might be Nebraska for McCord. Not exactly a win now program as we saw this season.
Yeah, no, you took the words right out of my mouth, Mitch. I think that Kyle McCord situation is certainly hey, we got to change something up. This is not working. It's a 1-game season for Ohio State right now, and they're 3 years in a row failing at that 1-game season. So they got to change something up. I wouldn't be surprised to see them a major player for a lot of these guys that enter the portal at the quarterback position. So they'll find the right guy. Ryan Day is not going to mess around and mess this up because I don't think he can afford to. I don't know that he's 100% on the hot seat already going into the year, but if you lose to Michigan 4 years in a row and you had an opportunity to fix that quarterback problem, that they're not going to like that in Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, I think that's a great example of, a kid being pulled aside and told, hey, like, we need to move in a different direction. This portal is going to work both ways. So McCord is an interesting name. Dylan Gabriel, I think, will find better success on an Oregon team in the Big Ten. Excuse me, I almost messed that up. In the Big Ten versus trying to get with Oklahoma in the SEC. I don't know that that's going to be a smooth transition for the Sooners next year, and so he might be looking at that as well. So lots of big names in the quarterback position though this year. Starters in Cam Ward, Will Howard. Dante Moore had some starts at UCLA this year. I think he's looking at transferring back. closer to. No, he's a West Coast kid, right? But he was committed to Michigan for a while.
He's a Detroit kid, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Detroit. That's what it is, Detroit kid, but he was committed to Oregon. So who knows where he ends up? He's a talented guy that just was learning on the fly at UCLA. So lots of big names that could fit that bill for Ohio State and all these other programs that need a quarterback.
On Dante Moore, I don't know if you guys saw this, and I don't know if it's verified. So if it's been shot down already, forgive me. Apparently, his grandmother ranted in some sort of Facebook group.
I saw that was true. I've seen that it was true.
My word. I mean, goodness, Chip Kelly gets retained at UCLA, and then you have Grandma Moore saying, "Oh, he doesn't know how to coach quarterbacks. He never used my grandson properly." Like, that is a weird look for UCLA as they get ready to go into the Big Ten without their star quarterback, the kid that they thought was going to be the future.
In a Facebook group too. That's the best part for me. It's not like she's, writing a letter to the editor in the newspaper or something. She's taking it right to Boomer Central, the Facebook group.
Gracious, how about that?